Welcome. Welcome to Prism Tales. Take a moment wherever you are to let yourself arrive. Let the room around you soften at its edges. Let the day you have carried begin to set itself down gently, the way one sets down a full cup on a level table. There's nothing you need to do now, nothing to remember, nothing to solve. The only task before you, if you can call it a task at all, is to breathe slowly and to listen. Feel the weight of your body against whatever supports it. The pillow, the mattress, the cushion, the covers. Feel the small, quiet places where your body touches something soft. Let those places grow warm. Let them grow heavy. Draw a slow breath in through your nose. Let it out through your mouth, unhurried, like steam leaving a bowl of tea. And another, in and out. There is no rhythm you need to match. Your own breath knows the pace. Tonight, we are going to walk together through a place that most people never see. A quiet place. A place made of warm stone and slow water and lantern light. It sits between two shallow seas, rising and falling with the moon, and it belongs to no country and to no hurry. We will follow a woman named Miren, the Tide-Notarist, on her evening rounds. She is expecting us, in the way that patient people are always expecting anyone who might arrive. She will not speak much. She rarely does. But she will show us the small ceremonies of her work, and we will witness them together. And by the end of her rounds, you will be softer than you were when we began. You do not need to picture everything perfectly. You do not need to see it at all. Just let the words rest against you, the way warm water rests against skin. Let them come and go. Let your attention drift where it likes. If your mind wanders off, that is only your mind beginning to rest. It will come back, or it will not, and either is well. Now settle in a little deeper. Let your shoulders lower. Let your jaw unclench. Let the space between your eyebrows soften. The tongue resting behind the teeth. The hands easy. The belly unhurried. We begin. You step through a low doorway of pale, weather-smoothed stone, and at once the air changes. It is warmer here than the night behind you. Warmer and heavier, and full of the mineral scent of water that has traveled a long way underground before rising into the light. It smells faintly of salt, faintly of cedar, faintly of something green and mild that reminds you of eucalyptus leaves crushed between two fingers. The floor beneath your bare feet is tile, blue and white glazed tile, cool where the steam has not yet reached, warm where it has. You feel the small squares beneath the arches of your feet. You feel the grout between them, a little rougher, a little cooler. The tiles are old, and their edges have been softened by generations of quiet feet passing over them. No one has ever rushed across this floor. No one ever will. Ahead of you, the room opens into a low, domed chamber. The ceiling is not high, but it is round and generous, and the sound of a single drop of water falling somewhere in its curve carries through the whole space with a soft, patient echo. Drip. A long pause. Drip. Another. It is the sound of a place that keeps time in centuries rather than in minutes. In the center of the chamber lies a pool. A wide, shallow pool of steaming mineral water, its surface unbroken except by 3 paper globes that drift slowly upon it. The globes are pale, the color of cream, and inside each one a small flame burns steadily, so that the whole pool glows from below and above at once. The light bends through the vapor. It softens everything it touches. It turns the tiled walls into something that looks less like a room and more like the inside of a very kind lantern. Around the edges of the pool run low stone benches, and on these benches, a few bathers doze. They lie in alcoves, wrapped in loose robes of undyed linen, their heads pillowed on folded towels. One of them is snoring very gently. Another has an arm draped over his eyes. A third is curled on her side, breathing so quietly you could not tell she was there if you were not looking. No one stirs at your arrival. No one is meant to. You stand at the edge of the pool and let the steam curl up against your face. It is not hot. It is the temperature of a held hand. It carries with it the mineral scent, and the salt, and the cedar, and something faintly sweet, like beeswax warmed in a palm. Then, from a smaller doorway to your left, Miren steps through. She is not tall. She is not short. She moves the way water moves when it has all the time in the world to reach its destination. Her robe is the soft gray blue of the tiles, and over her shoulder she carries a strap, and from the strap hangs a small satchel, and in the satchel is her wax, and her stamp, and her ledger. In her right hand she holds a bamboo pole, tall and slender, and from the top of the pole hangs a paper lantern that swings very gently with each of her steps. She sees you. She does not seem surprised. She nods once, a small nod, as if you have been expected all along, and perhaps you have been. Then she gestures, with the smallest tilt of her head, toward the pillar at the pool's far edge. You follow her. The pillar is a slim column of pale stone, half in the water and half out. Set into it, at about the height of your hip, is a single tile, a small square of deep blue with a thin white notch carved horizontally across its middle. This is the marker. This is what she has come to read. Miren kneels beside the pillar. She does not hurry. She sets her lantern pole gently against the wall. She opens the satchel. She takes out a small wheel of pale beeswax discs, each one no larger than a coin, threaded on a slender cord. She takes out a small brass stamp, dark with age, its handle worn to the shape of her thumb. She takes out a soft ledger, its pages the color of cream, its cover the color of tea. She looks at the notch. She looks at the waterline. Tonight, the water rises just to the lower edge of the white mark, a hand's breadth higher than at noon. She notes this with her eyes, and only with her eyes. Then she takes one of the wax discs from the wheel. She warms it slowly in her palm, closing her fingers around it, breathing on it once, twice, until it softens. You can smell the faint honey scent of the wax as it warms. It is a smell that belongs to old houses, to slow afternoons, to letters that were written by hand. She presses the softened disc onto the open page of her ledger. She takes up the brass stamp. She holds it above the wax for a breath, and then, with a soft, definite click, she presses it down. The click is small, almost nothing. But in the domed room, in the steam, in the hush, it is a whole clear sound, the sound of a small door closing gently in a house far away. Click. She lifts the stamp. The wax has taken its shape, a fine crescent, like a slice of the moon, ringed by tiny numerals only she can read. She murmurs the reading aloud to the empty room, though the room is not empty, and though no one is listening but the tiles and the water and you. Halfmoon 1, she says very softly, rising, a hand's breadth. Witnessed. Then she closes the ledger. She puts away her stamp. She lifts her lantern pole. She stands, and she walks toward the next doorway. You follow her. The doorway leads to a channel, a narrow, tiled corridor with water running along a shallow trough in the center of the floor. The water is warm. It moves slowly in the direction Miren is walking, as if it too is going to the next bathhouse and has agreed to keep her company along the way. The trough is only ankle deep, and if you wished, you could walk in it. But tonight, you walk beside it, along the smooth blue and white tiles, and you listen to the sound of the water and the soft slap of Miren's slippered feet ahead of you. The corridor is lit by more paper globes, these ones set into small alcoves in the walls, glowing warmly like eggs in a nest. The ceiling is low and vaulted. Somewhere above, you can hear to sea, the outer sea, brushing against the outside of the stones. It is a distant sound, a patient sound. It arrives and departs, arrives and departs, and asks nothing of you. Halfway down the corridor, a small shape emerges from the trough, a dark, round head with two bright, curious eyes and a set of very fine whiskers. An otter. It looks at you for a long moment. It looks at Miren. It gives a small, satisfied huff, barely a sound, and then it slips back into the water and swims along beside her, its sleek body moving in slow, easy curves through the shallow current. Miren does not look down at the otter. She does not need to. The otter has followed her on her rounds for a long time. It is part of the evening, the way the moon is part of the sky. You walk. You walk without hurry. The tiles beneath your feet are cool, where the steam has thinned, warm where it has gathered. The paper globes above you tremble gently as you pass. The otter paddles in easy company. The lantern on Miren's pole sways. The distant sea breathes. You come at last to the second bathhouse. It is much like the first, and it is not like the first. The dome here is a little higher. The pool is a little smaller. The tiles carry a pattern of small white waves along their upper border, a pattern so faint you notice it only after you have looked twice. There are more bathers here, perhaps 5 or 6, dozing in their alcoves, and one, an older woman, who sits with her feet in the water and her eyes half closed, humming to herself so quietly the hum is almost only a warmth in the air. Miren nods to her. The woman nods back without opening her eyes any further. They have known each other for years, perhaps. They do not need words. Miren walks to the pillar. The notch here is a little lower on the tile, and the water rises tonight, again, to just its lower edge, a hand's breadth higher than at noon. The tide, all across the archipelago, keeps the same slow promise. She kneels. She sets down her lantern. She opens the satchel. She takes out a wax disc. She warms it in her palm. The honey scent rises. She presses the disc into the ledger. She lifts the stamp. She holds it. And then, softly, click. Halfmoon 2, she murmurs, rising, a hand's breadth. Witnessed. The words drift into the steam. The steam drifts into the dome. The dome holds the words and lets them go, and holds them again and lets them go. The paper globes bob very slightly on the pool as the water moves beneath them. The otter climbs out of the trough, shakes itself once, a small, polite shake, and settles on a stone at the edge of the pool to watch. Miren closes the ledger. She puts away her stamp. She rises. You follow her again. The next channel is longer than the first. curves gently between the two bathhouses, and along one wall runs a low ledge on which grow small ferns and mosses, kept alive by the steam. The green is very soft in the lantern light. The mosses are the color of quiet. The ferns nod slightly as you pass, disturbed by the small warmth of your movement. You breathe in, you breathe out. The mineral scent is stronger here, and beneath it, the cedar, and beneath that, the eucalyptus, and beneath that, the faintest thread of salt from the outer sea. It is a scent you feel you have known for a long time, though you cannot remember where. Perhaps in a dream. Perhaps in a childhood you did not have. Perhaps only here. The otter has slipped back into the trough, and it swims ahead of you now, a small, dark shape, pulling a small ripple behind it. Its paddling is a soft, wet sound. Regular. Patient. You could listen to it for hours. You come to the third bathhouse. This one is round, entirely round, and its pool takes up almost the whole of the floor, so that around the water there's only a narrow ring of tile, wide enough for one person to walk. The dome above is painted with a very old design of pale stars, so faded now that they are more suggestion than image. 7 paper globes drift on the water here, and they turn slowly, as if held by the smallest current. The light they cast makes the whole room seem to breathe. There are no bathers awake in this room. 2 lie sleeping in alcoves. Their breathing is slow. The room is very quiet. Only the drip of water somewhere above, and the almost inaudible whisper of the pool against the stone, and the sound of your own breath. Miren walks the ring of tile to the far side. The pillar here is set into the wall itself. The notch is at knee height, and she kneels lower, folding herself down onto the warm tile with the ease of long practice. The lantern rests against her shoulder. The satchel opens. The wheel of wax turns in her fingers. The disc warms in her palm. The honey scent rises. Click. Halfmoon 3. Rising. A hand's breadth. Witnessed. The words go up into the painted stars. The stars accept them in their faded way. The water rises against the notch. The globes turn slowly on the pool. The otter climbs onto a small stone island at the pool's center. A stone island you had not noticed until now, with a single tuft of moss on it, and settles there, watching Miren with quiet approval. She closes the ledger. She rises. She continues. The channel between the third and the fourth bathhouse is different from the others. It is open to the sky, or nearly. The roof above is a lattice of thin cedar beams, and between the beams you can see a strip of night, a soft, dark blue with a scatter of small stars, and a moon that hangs low and half full above the outer sea. The moon is the color of the beeswax discs. The stars are the color of the paper globes. The night is warm, and it smells of salt and of cedar, and the air moves against your face like a hand that means only kindness. You slow your steps. You look up. The moon looks back in its way, and you can almost hear it, though there is no sound to hear, thinking about the tides. The tides that Miren is quietly recording. The tides that rise a hand's breadth every 12 hours, without fuss, without failure, without any need for anyone to notice. But someone notices. Miren notices. And now, in a smaller way, so do you. She walks on. You follow. The otter paddles beside you in the trough. The lantern sways. The night breathes. The moon holds its half shape over the sea. You come to the fourth bathhouse. This one is longer than the others, more like a hall than a chamber. The pool is a long rectangle, and its water is deeper here, deep enough that the paper globes cast slow, wavering reflections all the way down into the tiled floor beneath. The tiles at the bottom are painted with a design of fish, small, pale fish, and in the shifting light, they seem to swim. They are, of course, not swimming, but it is very pleasant to imagine that they are. On the long walls of the hall, low benches are lined with folded towels and small ceramic cups. A few bathers sit on the benches, some with their feet in the water, some with their eyes closed, some with a cup of warm tea steaming gently on the tile beside them. The tea smells of ginger and of something floral that you cannot name. No one speaks. Occasionally, someone lifts a cup and sips, and sets the cup down again with a small ceramic sound that fits perfectly into the hush. Miren walks the length of the hall. Her lantern sways. The paper globes on the pool turn slowly. The otter, this time, does not follow her into the hall. It has stopped at the doorway and settled on a stone step to wait. Otters have their own schedules. They know which rooms are for otters and which are not. The pillar in this bathhouse stands at the far end of the pool, tall and slim, with a notch at chest height. Miren does not need to kneel here. She stands before it. The lantern light falls across her face. Her expression is calm. Her expression is almost always calm. There's a small line at the corner of her mouth that suggests she is, in some quiet way, pleased. Pleased that the water has risen as expected. Pleased that the ledger is ready. Pleased, perhaps, that tonight she has quiet company. She opens the satchel. She takes out a wax disc. She warms it in her palm. The honey scent rises again, as it always does, and it is beginning to become part of the fabric of the evening. It is beginning to feel, to you, like the smell of the whole archipelago. Warm stone, warm water, warm wax. She presses the disc into the ledger. She lifts the stamp. Click. Halfmoon 4. Rising. A hand's breadth. Witnessed. The words settle. The tea in the cups steams gently. The bathers do not stir. The tiles under the water carry on their painted, imaginary swimming. The paper globes turn. The lantern light bends through the vapor. The half moon somewhere outside continues to draw the sea. Miren closes the ledger. She puts away the stamp. She turns. She walks back the length of the hall, and you walk with her. And the light of her lantern moves along the tiles, and the tiles hold the light for a moment before letting it go. At the doorway, the otter is waiting. It rises. It slips into the trough. It swims ahead. The channel between the fourth and the fifth bathhouse is the warmest yet. The steam here is thick, and it curls around you like a soft wool blanket. The lantern light, in this thickness, becomes a soft, round glow rather than a beam. And Miren, ahead of you, becomes a shape rather than a figure. You could easily lose her in this steam if the trough of water did not connect you both. If the otter did not swim between you, if the sound of her slippered feet did not come to you, patient and unbroken, from just a few paces ahead, you do not lose her. You keep walking. The steam parts in its slow way before your body and closes behind you, and it feels like moving through a warm dream that has no edges. You come to the fifth bathhouse. This one is small, the smallest so far. The dome above is low, and the pool takes up most of the floor. and the ring of tile around it is only wide enough for one to walk single file. There's only one paper globe on this pool, and it drifts in the center, casting a single small circle of warm light on the ceiling above. The bathers here are few, only 2, wrapped in linen, curled in alcoves so small they seem like nests. They are very deeply asleep, the kind of sleep that belongs to warm rooms and mineral water and the sound of a distant sea. The pillar here is short and stout. The notch is close to the floor. Miren must kneel very low. She lowers herself onto the tile, sets down her lantern, opens the satchel. The wheel of wax turns. A disc comes free. She warms it. The scent of honey rises. She presses. She stamps. Click. Halfmoon 5. Rising. A hand's breadth. Witnessed. The single paper globe on the pool trembles very slightly, as if it too has heard and has agreed. The water laps softly against the notched pillar. The 2 sleeping bathers do not stir. The dome holds the quiet. The tiles hold the warmth. The otter, on the tile just outside the doorway, huffs once, patiently. Miren rises. She smiles, very slightly, though her back is to you, and you can only see the way her shoulders soften. She turns. She walks. You follow. Now, as she moves toward the 6th bathhouse, she does something she has not done yet. She stops at a small alcove in the channel wall. The alcove holds a low wooden shelf, and on the shelf, a shallow ceramic bowl, and in the bowl, a few dried leaves and a small folded cloth. Beside the bowl, a tiny iron kettle sits on a warmer that is heated, it seems, by a thin pipe of mineral water running through the wall. Steam rises from the spout of the kettle in a very fine, thin thread. Miren sets her lantern pole against the wall. She opens the folded cloth and takes out 2 small ceramic cups. She sets them on the shelf. She lifts the kettle. She pours. The water is not fully hot. It is warm, the way a bath is warm, the way a held hand is warm, and it steeps the dried leaves in each cup into a pale, greenish infusion. The scent that rises from the cups is soft, slightly grassy, slightly minty, slightly sweet. It mingles with the mineral steam and the cedar and the beeswax and the faint salt. It becomes part of the same fabric. Miren hands you one of the cups. She does not say anything. She lifts her own. She takes a small sip. You take a small sip. The tea is warm. The tea is quiet. The tea travels down inside you and finds a small, cool place and warms it. You stand together in the channel, in the steam, holding your cups, drinking slowly. Somewhere, a drop of water falls from the low ceiling into the trough. Somewhere, the otter paddles a small circle. Somewhere, far off, the outer sea breathes against the outside of the stones. Somewhere, the half moon holds the tide at its patient hand's breadth. You finish the tea. Miren finishes hers. She takes your cup back from you. She rinses both cups in the trough. She folds them into the cloth. She sets them back on the shelf. She lifts her lantern. She walks on. You follow. You come to the 6th bathhouse. This one, you feel as soon as you cross the threshold, is your favorite, though you have not seen the 7th yet. And it is possible that in a moment, the 7th will become your favorite, and that is also fine. The 6th bathhouse is oval in shape. Its walls are lined with a mosaic of very small tiles in 100 different shades of blue. The pale blue of morning skies, the deep blue of evening seas, the soft blue of a fading twilight, the milky blue of glacial water, all set together in a slow drifting pattern that seems to move as the lantern light moves across it. The pool is oval too, and around its edges float many paper globes, perhaps 12, perhaps more. Their light gathers on the mosaic walls and softens the whole room into something that is more color than shape. The bathers here lie in alcoves along the long walls, and there are more of them than in the other bathhouses. Perhaps 10, perhaps 12. They doze in various postures of ease. One has her hand trailing in the water. Another has his cheek pressed against the cool tile of the bench. A third is curled with her knees drawn up, like a child. All of them are breathing slowly. All of them are somewhere very deep. The pillar here is set into the wall at the far end, and it is a beautiful pillar, thicker than the others, and older, and its notch is set into a tile that has been polished by centuries of measuring. The tile is deep blue, deeper than the others, and its notch is not white, but silver, a fine silver line, and the water tonight rises just to the lower edge of it, a hand's breadth higher than at noon, just as before, just as always. Miren kneels. The tile beneath her is warm. She sets down her lantern. She opens the satchel. The wheel of wax turns in her hand. A disc comes free. She warms it in her palm. The honey scent rises. She presses. She lifts the stamp. She holds it. Click. Halfmoon 6. Rising. A hand's breadth. Witnessed. The mosaic walls seem to shift a little in response, though of course they do not move. The paper globes on the pool bob gently. The bathers breathe on. The otter paddles in a slow, contented circle at the edge of the pool. You feel, in this room, that you would like to stay for a long time. You feel that you could lie down in one of the alcoves and be one of the sleepers, and no one would mind, and the water would go on rising, and Miren would come again in 12 hours, and murmur the reading and go on, and you would sleep through all of it, and it would be a very fine way to spend a life. But there is one more bathhouse still, the 7th. And so, when Miren rises, you rise with her, in your mind, in your following, in whatever small part of you is walking this evening with her, and you go with her to the last doorway. The channel between the 6th and the 7th bathhouse is short, shorter than any of the others. It bends only once, gently to the left, and the lantern light spills around the bend before Miren does, and the tiles here are worn softer than anywhere else, and the water in the trough is very warm, warmer than in the other channels, as if the springs beneath know that the end of the round is near and are sending up their gentlest heat. The otter follows in the trough. Its paddling is slow now. It is a small, dark shape, and it looks, if you glance at it long enough, as if it is smiling in the way that otters do, which is to say, not really smiling, but seeming to. The doorway of the 7th bathhouse is arched, and above it hangs a very old paper globe, larger than the others, its light softer. You step through. The 7th bathhouse is not like the others. It is open on one side. The wall that would face the outer sea is not a wall, but a broad, low arch. And beyond the arch, there's only water. The shallow outer sea itself, dark and quiet under the half moon, its surface just slightly ruffled by the softest of breezes. The bathhouse pool spills gently out through this arch into the sea, and the sea slips gently in through the arch into the pool, so that at high tide there's no clear line between them, and at low tide there's only the smallest of thresholds. Tonight, the tide having risen its hand's breadth, the threshold is almost gone. The pool and the sea are nearly one water. The paper globes here, 6 of them, arranged in a slow curve, drift half in the pool and half already out on the open sea, glowing softly against the dark, and they will drift a little further and a little further until dawn, when the tide falls again and someone will gently gather them back. The floor of this bathhouse is the same blue and white tile as the others, and it is cool beneath your feet and warm where the steam has gathered. The dome is smaller here. The room is smaller, but the openness of the arch to the sea makes it feel enormous, as if you are standing at the edge of the world. There are no bathers in the 7th bathhouse tonight. Only Miren. Only you. Only the otter, which has swum out through the arch and now floats on its back just beyond the threshold, its paws crossed on its belly, looking up at the moon. Miren walks slowly to the pillar. The pillar in the 7th bathhouse stands at the very edge of their arch, half in the pool and half in the sea, and its notch is set into a tile that faces both waters equally. The tile is old. The notch is fine. Tonight, the water rises to just the lower edge of it, a hand's breadth higher than at noon, just as always, just as it should. She kneels. The tile beneath her is warm. Behind her, the steam of the pool. Before her, the cool air of the open sea. She sets down her lantern. She opens the satchel. The wheel of wax turns in her hand. A disc comes free, but this disc is not like the others. It is a little larger. It is a little paler. It is the last of the 7 she carried tonight, and it is meant for the last bathhouse. She warms it in her palm. The honey scent rises, warmer now, sweeter now, as if the wax is offering itself gladly. She presses the disc onto the last open page of the ledger. She takes up the stamp. She holds it. She holds it for a moment longer than she has held it in any of the other bathhouses, because this is the last stamp of the round, and she likes to let the moment be full. Then, softly, click. Halfmoon 7, rising, a hand's breadth, witnessed. The words go out through the arch. They travel across the water. They touch the paper globes drifting out into the sea. They reach the half-moon in their way, and the half-moon accepts them, and the tide accepts them, and the whole slow, patient system of the world accepts them, and everything is well. Miren closes the ledger. Her hands rest for a moment on its cover. Her breath is slow. The lantern light falls softly on her face. She is, in her quiet way, complete. Then she rises. But she does not turn to leave yet. There is one small thing left to do. Beside the pillar, set into the tile of the floor, is a small groove, a channel just wide enough for a cedar tray to rest in. Miren takes from her satchel a small wooden tray, no bigger than her palm, made of pale cedar. She sets the ledger onto the tray. She sets the tray into the groove. She pushes it gently, gently into the pool. The tray floats. The pool carries it. The pool carries it toward the arch. The arch carries it out into the sea. Somewhere out on the open water, you can just make it out in the moonlight. There's a small, floating raft. A cedar raft, low and quiet, lit by 2 paper globes. The archive raft. The cedar tray with its ledger will drift slowly on the current of the rising tide, and by dawn it will nudge softly against the side of the raft, and someone Miren has never met, someone who works the morning hours, will gather it up and take it into the archive and file it beside all the other soft cream ledgers of all the other Tide-Notarists who have ever done this work. Miren has never seen the archive raft up close. She has never met the archivist. She does not need to. The work is a hand passed from one person to another across quiet water, and both hands trust each other, and the work goes on. She watches the cedar tray drift out through the arch. She watches it become a small shape on the moonlit sea. She watches it become a smaller shape. Then she nods once, softly, to herself, and to the sea, and to the tide, and to the moon. The round is complete. The otter, floating on its back beyond the threshold, gives a small, satisfied huff and rights itself in the water and swims a slow, lazy circle, as if to say, "Well done, that's another one, and now, perhaps, a nap." Miren picks up her lantern. She turns, but she does not walk back the way you came. Instead, she walks to a low alcove at the side of the 7th bathhouse, an alcove wide enough for two, lined with soft cushions the color of undyed linen, warmed by a thin pipe of mineral water running through the tile beneath. She sets her lantern pole against the wall. She sets her satchel on a low shelf. She unfolds a soft towel from the shelf and lays it over the cushions. Then she gestures, with the smallest tilt of her head, toward the alcove. "You may rest there," the gesture says, "as long as you like. The round is complete. There is nothing more to do. You sit. The cushions are warm. The linen is soft. The tile beneath the cushions gives up its slow warmth to your body. You can feel the warmth spreading up through your legs, into your back, into your shoulders. You can feel your body letting go of small tensions you had not realized you were carrying. The corners of your jaw, the small muscles behind your eyes, the place between your shoulder blades, the soles of your feet. The paper globes drift on the pool. The half moon holds its shape over the sea. The steam curls up under the dome. The mosaic. No, the mosaic is in the 6th bathhouse. The plain blue tile here holds the light softly. The lantern on Miren's pole burns quietly. The otter has come back through the arch and settled on a warm stone near the alcove, its head resting on its paws. Miren sits beside you. Not close, not far. She rests her hands on her knees. She closes her eyes. She breathes. Her breathing is slow, very slow. It is the breathing of a person who has done her work for the evening and knows that the work is well. You breathe with her, not on purpose, just because the room is doing it, and the sea is doing it, and the tide is doing it, and it seems easiest to breathe along. In and out, in and out. The mineral scent rises from the pool. The cedar scent rises from the walls. The eucalyptus scent, you can smell it now more clearly from a small bundle of leaves resting on a shelf nearby, drifts through the room. The faint honey scent of the beeswax still lingers on Miren's fingers, on the satchel, on the air itself. The salt of the outer sea comes in through the arch, thin and clean. You are very warm. You are very soft. You are very heavy in the way that only warm, safe bodies can be. Somewhere, a drop of water falls into the pool. Somewhere, a paper globe turns. Somewhere, the otter sighs in its sleep. Somewhere, the ledger, in its cedar tray, drifts a little closer to the archive raft. Somewhere, the moon lets the tide rise the last thread of its hand's breadth. You think, in the small, quiet way that one thinks when one is beginning to drift, that this is a fine place, that the work Miren does is a fine work, that the way she does it, kneeling, warming, pressing, stamping, murmuring, closing, floating, is a fine way to move through an evening, that the ledger will reach the raft, and someone will gather it, and the record will be kept, and none of it needs your worry. Your worry has been very quietly set down. You did not notice exactly when it happened, somewhere between the third bathhouse and the fifth, perhaps, somewhere between the tea and the moon, somewhere between the click of the stamp and the drift of the tray. But it is set down now. It is not gone. It is simply not yours to hold tonight. Miren has, in a way you do not have to understand, taken it into her ledger too. Witnessed, stamped, set adrift toward morning. You sink a little deeper into the cushions, the linen against your cheek, the warmth against your back, the soft light through the vapor, the half moon on the water, the half moon on the water, the half moon. Your breathing slows, your breathing slows, the room slows, the world slows, the paper globes bob, the otter breathes, Miren breathes, the sea breathes, the tide holds. You rest, you rest. The bathhouse rests around you. The tiles are cool, the tiles are warm. The water is quiet, the light is soft. The scent is honey and cedar and salt and mineral steam. The sound is a drop and a drop and a drop in a domed and patient room. You do not need to follow the story any further. It has already brought you where it meant to bring you. It has brought you here, to this alcove, to this warmth, to this quiet, and it has laid you down on the linen and set the moon on the water and gone still. If your mind is drifting, let it drift. If your mind is elsewhere already, let it be elsewhere. If you are hearing only some of the words and losing others in the steam, that is exactly right. The words are like the paper globes. Some of them stay in the pool. Some of them drift out through the arch. Some of them nudge softly against the archive raft by morning. They will all be gathered. They will all be filed. You do not have to keep them. Only rest. Only rest. The half moon on the water. The half moon on the water. The tide at its hand's breadth. The lantern light. The cedar. The beeswax. The blue tile. The soft click. Witnessed. 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 The room is warm. You are warm. Miren is still. The otter is asleep. The sea is patient. The moon is kind. The globes are bright. The globes are dim. The globes are far. You are here. You are safe. You are held. You are soft. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Let your thoughts slow. Let your body sink. Let the tide rise its last small thread. Let Miren close her eyes. Let the lantern burn low. The paper globes drift. The cedar tray drifts. The sea breathes. You drift. You drift. You are in the seventh bathhouse. The arch opens on the sea. The moon is half. The water is warm. The tile is soft. The linen is soft. Your breath is soft. Rest now. Rest. Sleep if sleep is near. And if it is not near, only rest. Rest is enough. Rest is a hand's breadth toward sleep, and another hand's breadth, and another. The tide keeps its promise. The ledger drifts to the archive. The stamp rests in its satchel. The wax cools in its wheel. The lantern burns low. The otter sleeps. Miren sleeps. The bathhouse sleeps. The sea sleeps. The moon holds. You sleep. You sleep. You sleep. Good night.